Here I've got the Jump Out hero Zoro. You can see he's in a black and white box just like that WCF Gear 5 set I unboxed recently. And this Zoro is also exclusive to Japan. The way to get him was by mail order through the Shonen Jump magazine. And I have one right here, Luffy with his bloody hand around the live action Luffy. Or at least that's what it looks like. But yeah, look at this page here, there's some upcoming WCF figures. So I assume this is a way to get all of these types of figures in Japan, you know, by getting the Shonen Jump magazine and ordering from there. And if you live outside of Japan like me, then you can find these on proxies like Zen Market or from sellers on eBay. So there aren't too many figures in the Jump Out Heroes line yet. There's about 4 as far as I know. This Zoro, and then there's a Luffy and 2 other characters from other anime. But yeah, here's Zoro out of the plastic, and there's not too many pieces to this figure. Just Zoro himself connected to the base as one piece, and then his 3 swords. And this Enma is pretty deformed, like look at how bent it is. And I thought it was just that it was bent, but there's more to it. It's actually shaped like a triangle. And I'll show that in a second, but yeah. Here it is compared to a different Enma, and maybe you can see it, but it might be hard. But if you look straight down the blade, it's shaped like this, like an actual triangle, like a big block of a triangle, you know. That's just pretty weird. I've never seen a sword shaped like that. If you can maybe see it better here, if I turn it around, you can see the surface on the top is like flat. Just very weird. A very weird choice for them to do that, but I don't think it ruins the figure because it's not like you can really even tell when it's on display. But just if you look close enough at the swords, you will notice it. Let's see the height now. That's about 8.5 inches at the tallest point, and as for the width, that looks to be about 11.5 inches. And the depth is about 6 inches, 6.5, somewhere around there. Now let's see how much he weighs. So he weighs just a bit over 8 ounces. And he does have a seam on his arm, one on each arm, which are very noticeable, but you know, I've seen worse, so it could have been worse. And here we've got his scabbards. You can see they're tied together with that red rope. And over here we can see the bottom of his coat's all torn up from the fight, and then his red sash. I think that looks pretty good. Then on his swords, he's got some green aura and some black hockey coming off of him. I think that looks good. And from the back, we can see he's like jumping straight out of the pages, which I guess is why it's called Jump Out Heroes. And I love how they added the sound effect here, just really nice detail. And another thing I love about this is how they actually printed the manga pages on here. These are all from volume 102 and 103. We can see this page here, then the next one during his fight with King. Well, so was that one. But yeah, here it is, the actual manga page here. And then over here, these are kind of covered, but this is the, you know, the King of Hell part where he beats King and then he's in the pose of the figure. See it right here. Look at that sexy beast. And look, he looks pretty thick and wide here. That's one thing I noticed, that the figure could have done better. See, he looks a little thin, maybe his head a little too big, his muscles and his whole torso could have definitely been wider. But I think it does a good enough job capturing the moment. And there is an issue of balance I had with it. It's kind of wobbly. See, it doesn't really, it stands up fine, but yeah, it's just wobbly. So they could have made it stand a little flatter. Maybe it's just mine. You know, if you have one, let me know how yours is. But here he is compared with some other Zoro figures. We can see the one I just recently reviewed, the Ichiban Kuji Zoro. Then here's the back of all 3. And something I noticed about the other 2 Zoros is that the swords are very plain looking. See, they're just plain white. There's no color to it, but on the Jump Out Hero Zoro, it does have color. And that's the same for the other swords too. Look, plain just black on these 2, and then Jump Out Hero Zoro has some red to it. So it's definitely better there, and then Enma is the same on each of them pretty much. So it wins in that area, but yeah, there is still the issue of the blades being shaped like actual triangle blocks. And yeah, looking at the actual manga panel again, I can see the blades are very curved, so maybe that's what they were going for, trying to make them look very deformed, or maybe they just did it bad. I don't know. And the sword in his mouth doesn't stay in too well. Like if you just tip him forward a little bit, it's gonna kind of hang out and almost fall out. I think it's because all the weight of the effect pieces on there. So yeah, that could have been done better. Might have to glue it in at some point if it gets too loose. Now here he is with the Ichiban Kuji King. And you know, I was thinking that I wish Mega House would make figures like this Zoro. Like if they did this exact moment also, it could look so good, you know, with that high quality. But They might just find some way to ruin it. I like a lot of Mega House figures, but I also don't like a lot of them, so it could go either way if they even did it. And I think he looks best from this angle if you're like looking up at him.